Greetings everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out my favorite albums of 2022. Originally I had no plan of compiling such a list of albums, simply because I haven't listened to enough new music this year. And I feel like it's hard to judge an album if you haven't listened to it at least a couple of times over a longer period. And when I make these lists, I don't want to find a 2022 album 6 months from now that I think should have been on the list. I want the list to be so good that I can look back on them 10 years from now and think that I made the right assessments. And I'm also very picky. I don't care if the band is Ozzy Osbourne or Megadeth or just your local band. If there is something that slightly annoys me about a record, I'll just put it to the side. With thousands of metal albums being released every year, you can quite easily sort out most of the flaws, even upon the first listening. And maybe that's not completely fair, but with so many albums being released each and every year, you have to be able to sort some out, even for the smallest of flaws. And now it's time to check out my favorite albums of 2022, so let's roll the intro. In 10th place we have Luzifer, a German heavy metal band, or epic heavy metal band I should perhaps say. They have released an EP and a single and stuff like that, but this is their debut album, and it's a weird one. Some of the songs are in English and some are in German, and there are some strange keyboards on the album and even some filler tracks. But my favorite song of the year is actually on this album, and it's so cool that I think that album deserves a place in my top 10. So, let's listen to Iron Shackles by Luzifer.
Within your solitude, the clank of chains, the only sound. The weight of metal drags your body to the ground. Beyond your prison bars, alive in distant stars. A realm is lying vast at night. Just when there was no more life to drain, your muscles start to strain. Clenching fists will big than mine. Free yourself from iron shackles. Run free of dying need. Letting down these iron shackles. Their rusty chains can stand your heat.
In 9th place we have a band that don't really need no introduction, because it's SAXON with their newest album Carpe Diem, which I ranked somewhere in the middle of their big discography when I ranked all of their studio albums. And SAXON is really one of the premier legacy bands that are still at it. So here is The Pilgrimage by SAXON.
Shine the light, show the way. We are leaving today to take the path already trodden, to try and find what we're looking for.
In 8th place we have VENATOR, an Austrian heavy metal or new wave or traditional heavy metal band. And this is their full-length debut album. It's called Echoes from the Gutter, and it's certainly in the Priest meets Maiden tradition, with some speed metal influences. And now it's time for us to spin the track Night Rider by VENATOR. In 7th place we have Darkest Era with the album Wither on the Vine. And I recently discovered this band, even though this is their 3rd studio album. I kinda missed out on them because they were labeled as a heavy/Celtic folk metal band on the Metal Archives. And the folk metal genre is not the first category I look for cool new music in. But a friend of mine put the album on his top 10 list for the year. So I've listened to it quite a bit over the last 2 weeks and I like it enough to put it in my top 10 for the year. So here is 1000 Years of Night from the album Wither on the Vine by Darkest Era. In 6th place we have the German thrash metal band Traitor and their 4th studio album Exile to the Surface. And this is German thrash of the old German tradition, think Creator or Sodom. So let's listen to Exile to the Surface by Traitor. In 5th place we have Italy's Konquest with their sophomore studio album Time and Tyranny. Konquest were one of the last year's big surprises for me, with their Maiden meets Heavy Load kinda sound. This one is perhaps more leaning towards Maiden with a splash of Thin Lizzy. Good stuff, and these guys are looking like a band to follow in the upcoming years. So here is Time and Tyranny by Konquest. In 4th place we have Riot City's Electric Elite, another new wave of traditional heavy metal band that mixes Judas Priest with some speed metal and melodic elements. And they have a new singer here since Cale has stepped down and he only handles the lead guitar here. Their new vocalist Jordan Jacobs has a bit of a more melodic voice, but damn, this guy can really hit the high notes with his falsetto, which I obviously love. So here is Eye of the Jaguar by Riot City. In third place we have Sacrifizer. They are from France and this is their debut album. Yeah, a lot of newcomers in this video. However, these guys are quite different from the rest of the bands on this list. Because this is some nasty and evil sounding black and speed metal. Extremely fast stuff that sounds a bit like early Slayer or a bit like Bathory, Razor and Possessed, all rolled up into one fast goddamn speedball. And if you're into Satan, leather and intense speed, then this album is a must. So here is Le Diamant de Luzifer by Sacrifizer. In second place, we have probably one of the most underrated metal bands out there, German death thrashers Protector, a band that has been around since 1987. Sure, they had a break for about 20 years, but if you're a fan of either thrash or death metal, then you should be familiar with these guys. And especially this record, which I think is one of their absolute best. So let's spin Excessive Outburst of Depravity by Protector. The number one metal album of 2022, according to none other than myself, is Cauldron Born's Cold Steel for the Necromancer. These guys have been around since the mid-90s and this is their fourth studio album. Their style is in the American power metal tradition and this album really has it all. Great vocals, great guitar play, a flawless production, great riffs, top-notch musicianship, so that's why Cauldron Born's Cold Steel for the Necromancer is my number one metal album of 2022. So, let's give it a listen. Here we have my favorite albums of 2022. There is a bit of an underground focus here, Protector and SAXON being the veterans. Otherwise most bands are quite new with a few debuts as well. It's always a bit tricky to compile a yearly list since I haven't had enough time to fully explore what's new in 2022. Due to me doing so many rank 'em all videos where I go back and listen to different bands' full discographies. But don't worry, all of the albums in my top 10 list are great records. And if you don't remember, last week we also did a vote where you guys could vote for your top 10 albums of the year. And here is that list. I also made a video about it if you haven't checked it out yet, and I can link it towards the end screen of this video. And here are the two lists side by side, so what do you guys think? Which list is better, mine or my viewers? Let me know down in the comment section below, and feel free to post your favorite albums of 2022 down there as well. We also have some honorable mentions, albums that I considered for my top 10 list, but they barely missed out. And there were of course other albums as well, like Megadeth's The Sick, The Dying and The Dead, which was a bit too overproduced for my taste. The same goes for the new aoty album that didn't do that much for me, or the new Dark Throne that was perhaps worthy of being included in the honorable mentions. I've also compiled a playlist of my favorite albums of 2022, and you can find a link to it listed down below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you want to go the extra mile to support my work and become one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, then you should consider becoming a patron. It's from $3 per month, and you get your name in my videos and an invite to my Discord server. And I'm also on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and so on. And all those links can be found down below. And that's all for today, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers. In 7th place we have another new wave of traditional heavy metal band, Belgium's Evil Invaders. They play heavy / speed metal, and this is their 3rd studio album. So let's spin the song Hissing in Crescendo by Evil Invaders.